During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about something that every farmer anywhere has to take a look at. What is the economic threshold for insects?
Why are we controlling insects? Well, the big reason is they're chewing on our crop or they're causing yield loss out in our field. And when bugs are eating on our plants, they also let diseases come into the plant.
When we have a bug that shows up in our crop, we want to know how many bugs does it take to affect yield. So let's just say, for example, it takes 10 bugs to show up and it costs us 1 bushel in yield. Okay, so that's just the baseline. That's what we need to know. Then from there, we look at what we call economic thresholds. And then we have to start throwing in, obviously, the economics. How much does it cost to spray? How much is that grain going to be worth? Those are the types of things that we've got to look at. So let's say we have a whole bunch of bugs, so it might be several bushels, plus the fact that the bushels are worth a lot of money, plus the fact that it's pretty inexpensive to spray, and we go, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to lose $50 and it's going to cost me $5 to spray. That makes complete sense. What we're really trying to figure out, though, is at what exact point do I pull the trigger? How many bugs have to show up based on today's economic conditions?
Here's another part of the challenge is insects are not evenly dispersed across our whole field. So you may enter your field on one end and see no insect feeding whatsoever and think, well, I'm in good shape. If you stop your scouting right there, well, you're going to miss it because you could have seen that the bugs were really devastating the field on the other end of the field. So there is kind of a little bit of judgment involved here for the farmer to say, okay, I've got 1,000 insects per square foot over here and I have 10 over here. What's kind of the average across my field? The other thing that a farmer could do is he could potentially spot spray. The only case where we really see a lot of spot spraying going on is with grasshoppers. Many times grasshoppers will move out of grassy areas and into our crop fields. So if you happen to catch them right at the time that the grasshoppers are just beginning their movement, you could just spot spray that part of the field and stop them before they get into the field. Most of the time, though, we're looking at bugs that are out in the field already, and there may be a hot spot where they're breeding out in a field and starting to spread out from there, or you could just see a bug here and a bug there, and you have to make some judgment as to how many you think there are on average across the field.
One other thing that we take a look at here, in addition to just the economics, is the overall look of the crop. For example, let's say that I was raising soybeans for seed. So these soybeans would be cleaned and put into bags and sold to farmers next year. Well, I want to make sure that those soybeans look phenomenal. So even though, yep, I might not have reached an economic threshold in terms of bushels per acre loss and dollars per acre loss, I may have reached my own threshold because I say, I just don't want those beans to look bad. There are a few bugs out there. I'm going to go get them under control.
You know, the other thing to think about too is with insects, they are reproducing out in the field. So you look at a bug like soybean aphids, for example, they can double their population very quickly, possibly even within a day or two, depending on what the weather conditions are. So if you're looking at a field and you realize, wow, I am just about up to the threshold where I would consider treating, but we have optimum weather conditions, so we know that aphid population is going to grow, you may pull the trigger just a little bit early.
Or basically what it amounts to is you've got to be out there scouting and count the number of bugs and then try to determine if you have an economic threshold or not, so you decide whether or not you want to spray.
Well, when it comes to thresholds with our Weed of the Week, if you see any in your field, it's time to act. We'll show you how to stop it coming up later in the show.